Alright, the next thing we're going to do is install the throttle servo here. So basically, you just want to get your wires through for your rudder and your elevator. I usually mark an R on my rudder or elevator, whatever you want to mark. If you want to mark anything, just put a mark on something and know that that's what it is. But all we're going to do is feed the servo in. Make sure you have your rubber grommets on there. I don't at the moment, but I'm in the middle of a demonstration, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to use one of these control horns here. This little thing here accepts a straight rod, so there's no threaded end on the end of it. But it just slides right into the rod like so, and then you tighten down the screw and that holds it in place. It makes it very easy to adjust your throttle. So I'm going to adjust my throttle here now. This is the center point. I'm just going to go with that for now, but we'll set it up differently when we actually mount the motor. Slide your rod through. Oops. I use a Z-bend. This is a Z-bend here. Just put a little Z-bend in the end, and I think that's what goes in the throttle body of your throttle arm on the carburetor. And that'll go back and forth, of course, and give you full peak, power and no power, that type of thing. Basically, you're just going to feed it through. And then we're going to feed it through this part right here. Providing it wants to go through that part right there. Sometimes it's easier to do it with it off. And then I'll put it right back on. There we go. And that's basically it. So screw this baby down. This will plug into channel number 3 on your receiver. And then it's going to work your throttle. But like I said, you just tighten this top part down here. And we'll adjust it. You can slide it right back and forth as far as you want. Put that throttle where you need to. And then when you're done adjusting where your throttle carb is, this, you just cut the end off, and you got that little bit of excess. You want to leave some excess, just so if you need to adjust it further or back further, you can. And this is where you adjust it all from, right here. You don't ever have to touch your carburetor, the servo arm on the carburetor. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is install the switch. This turns on and off the receiver, or your, radio control stuff. Basically, I'm just going to take my switch, whatever way you want to be on or off, so you want to decide where you want to put it. I usually try to put my switch on the opposite side of my muffler if I'm using a gas plane, just to keep gas from getting on it. So kind of pick a spot where you want it to go. I don't mind a little deep in the fuselage, so I'm going to put it up a little higher probably. But I'll just make sure where I want my on and off, kind of get it centered to where it's going to be, and go ahead and drill a hole. Take one of the screws, and we'll just put that right through. There's nothing there, just screwing it into the wood to get a good spot for it. And I'll make sure she's lined up good, and drill my next hole. And I know that's going to be exactly where we want it to be. And screw that in, and this is just the easiest way I found to put a switch in anyway, instead of fumbling all over the place. Then take your X-Acto blade and just cut out the center square. And there you go. Now I like my switch to be on backwards. Don't ask me why, everybody's got their own things, but I put my switch so on is back, off is forward, and I guess that's because cruising around without my wing on one time, I hit my switch on something and it turned off the radio control power to it, and I crashed my plane into a curbside. We had the wings off and we were racing them around. So from that point on, I always make sure on is going backwards. Most people like on forward because you're moving forward. I want it on, so it all depends on your personal preference. But there you go. That's as easy it is to install a switch. Nice and snug. Alright, we're going to do a little test here now, see what's going on. So I plugged my switch into the battery on the B on here. That depends what your receiver is. Just look up what you need to do. So my switch is in there. I have my elevator plugged into number 2, I have my rudder plugged into number 4, and I have my throttle plugged into number 3. So let's give it a little test. Turn the switch all on, and then the first thing I'll check is my throttle. Throttle's working. See the box or not? There's your throttle switch, so that's going to work the engine. And then elevators. Turn it right over here. Grab the channel. Alright, the elevator is up, push forward is down. You can see I got a whole lot of throw on mine. I like the 3D thing, and I like to have a lot of power on it. And then on this side of the box, I've got my rudder, left and right. So just make sure when you go to the right with your thing, your rudder goes to the right. So right now mine's opposite. I'll have to switch it, so I'll hit the reverse on it and switch it. But it looks like the fuselage is all set to go. All the servos are mounted, the surfaces are working. All I got to do is mount the engine, and it's like all cleaned up in there. I got my battery behind the servo tray, and I also put on my monocoat here for my wing. And the switch is in, and you can see how it's all wired in there. I will foam wrap the receiver once I put the ailerons on and stuff, but I'm not really sure where I'm going to put that yet, depending on the balance of the plane. You can move stuff around to get the balance where you want without having to add weight, hopefully. You can even cut a pop hatch back here if we need to put more tail weight in and use the battery back there. That's one of the main things we used to do with the twist, but I'm hoping that or the replica, but I'm hoping that I built it, a little more on the tail heavy side, so I wouldn't have to put something back here. So we'll see how that all goes.